Frank?
Last card of the
Last card of the
last
year
pay-per-view.
after
Last
pay-per-view. Last pay-per-view of the year. Yeah, last real card of the year.
But
Look, yeah, we've had a long hiatus. Lots of it's been happening. Pleased to announce that I'm moving back to Sydney after almost 2 years in Melbourne. So pretty excited to get back to my routine, my old stomping ground in Haberfield. Get back to training as well. I actually never got back into the habit of training MMA when I moved here, unfortunately. Never really joined the team at Absolute like I'd planned. And, when I go back to Haberfield, I'll be back at SBG. I'll be on the Bay Run. I'll be walking my dog. New job as well. So all exciting stuff, but wouldn't be anywhere else to break down the card with my friend Frank before Sunday, before I head off.
Thanks for the download there, bud. I've got nothing new. Still living where I'm living, still doing what I'm doing, but
Mate,
I'm pumped for Sunday. I'm pumped for Sunday.
Yeah, don't be
It's
like
gonna be a
that.
good card.
At least, yeah, you went to America recently. That was pretty cool.
Hey, yeah. I did. Who gives a shit?
You did. Mate, I give a shit. I'm fucking jealous. I still haven't been over there. It's on my bucket list, so I'll delay that anyway. Let's get into it. That's not what the people are here for. All right, this is not a therapy session.
Yeah.
But hey, look, we've got.
we're leaving all this in.
I did not give a shit. I'm fine with the coffee.
Let's leave it in.
UFC 310 is finally here, and it's probably snuck up on a lot of people. And as we got closer, people started looking not just at the main card but at the prelims. The card is pretty stacked top to bottom. There is something for everyone on this card, but we'll focus on the main card. And honestly, it's opening up with an absolute banger. We've got Nate the Train Landwehr here. Look at that bicep with Choi. Everybody knows that violence orgasm fight with Cub Swanson. What do you got for us, Frank?
Violence orgy, I believe the term was.
Violence orgy.
Yeah, disgusting. I mean, I don't really know what to say about Nate, man. He's one of the funniest things I heard was someone said, I think it was on Ariel's podcast, it was that other weird guy that came on, and he said, if Nate doesn't lose, he's probably going to win. And I was like, what a weird thing to say, but I kind of get what he means. It's like, if he just hangs around, he'll just fucking cockroach his way to a win. So, and Choi is like the inconsistency in being away and stuff. I think he's coming off 2 losses too.
I think he might have bounced back.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the odds are probably fair. Right. 210, 170. 210 for Choi, 170 Nate Landwehr. So it's probably fair.
He's coming off a win against Bill Algeo. He actually had a TKO as well.
True. Did he have? So he had a couple losses before that.
Look. Before that, he had a skid. He lost. He obviously lost that fight to Cub Swanson, and that was after his initial run. He had been undefeated for over 10 fights there. Entered the UFC, had a few wins, then fights Cub Swanson, loss in a great fight, and then proceeds to get knocked out by Jeremy Stevens, knocked out by Charles Jourdain, draws with Kyle Nelson, and back in the win column against Bill Algeo back in July this year. So good to see him a little bit more active now. He's obviously out of the military service and all that.
Yeah.
And up against, someone that can take some punishment and keep dishing it back. Like it's really about whether Do has that power that we've seen on display before.
Yeah. I think the inconsistency thing is pretty big. That's probably why that line is reflected the way it is. And also the style as well. Like Nate has sort of that style of the people that he's lost to, move forward, big sort of unconventional striking sort of guys. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, if you're looking for value, the rest of this card, there's got way more on it than this. But I think the line's probably pretty fair. I reckon Nate probably edged a decision on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting placement. It's a great main card opener, don't get me wrong. But when you think about it, they're really leaning on Choi either coming back and getting some sort of exciting finish. Nate's always good value. He's entertaining. His post-fight's always good, but
yeah, he's good for the main card.
They're putting this on the main card ahead of Aljo and Movsar Evloev, so they are obviously caring more about entertainment the way they've structured this card. They just want it exciting fights, stacked top to bottom. They've got different weight divisions for every fight, which I love to see because you get a piece of everything. There's no double up. Yeah, so if I had to break this down, it's like you said, it's either Nate hangs in there, drags Choi, into the second half of the fight and starts to edge him out, maybe wins 2 out of 3 rounds, or, breaks him down with a TKO win, or I see an early finish for Do Hoi Choi. I don't see Do Hoi Choi winning on the scorecards. I feel like he throws everything quite hard and will tire. So I'm going to take Nate Landwehr because he's been more active. He's on a bit of a streak here, and I haven't seen enough from Do Hoi Choi to see him, winning convincingly and back in the old ways that he was.
Yep, agree.
Awesome. On to the next one. And this is, again, but to my point, a bit of a something for everyone card placement. We've got on the main card a Bryce Mitchell versus a Kron Gracie. Like, look, Gracie name, it's big in MMA. Everyone cares about the old school Gracies and the jiu-jitsu side to that. But Kron Gracie really hasn't had much of a success story in the UFC. I mean, he's a grappler's delight, but this is not grappling. This is MMA. And in his last fight, I believe it was against Air Jordan, he didn't really have a lot to show. He was kind of rolling around on his back,
turtle on his back. It was fucking embarrassing, dude, to be honest. It was like Ryan Hall-esque.
Ryan Hall against Topuria.
Yeah,
just rolling around hoping for the best. Yeah, not gonna work in 2024, bro.
To be honest, he's got a shit attitude too, man. I couldn't really care less. I mean, Bryce Mitchell's not much better, but
yeah, he's got a little bit of I'm a expert jiu-jitsu guy. I'm from the old ways, but I'm also a bit of a I don't give a fuck attitude because I'm from the Diaz camp. So
yeah,
bit of an awkward mix there, I guess, when he presents himself and isn't on much of a winning streak. So I can see this as a real chance for Bryce Mitchell to get back in the win column. He's had a real tough run getting knocked out from the likes of Big Boy from Top Team. Yeah, Josh Emmett, the powerhouse that I've always been worried that Volk was going to face one day. But yeah, look, chance of Bryce to get back in the win column. No real KO threat from either side. I see this going 3 rounds, to be honest. I mean, like if they scramble, maybe Kron snatches a sub, but I feel like Bryce will take a calculated approach and try to win rounds and not take risks. The line's quite wide. We've got Kron Gracie, $6. So a bit of value there if you feel like he's going to be able to keep this on the ground. And then you got Bryce Mitchell, big favorite, $1.13. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really put too much into it. The one-dimensional, not really giving a shit, not active type person. Like, Bryce has got way more ways to win. The line obviously reflects it. I think it's pretty crazy considering they're like similar like styles. Like as far as like they've both got good ground game. They obviously are pretty confident that Kron's got nothing on the ground that Bryce can't handle, considering that line. I mean, it's going to be interesting seeing it play out on the feet on the floor, because it's like, okay, well, is Bryce going to be able to submit him, or is Kron going to be able to submit him, or is it just going to be two guys sort of not really offensively giving much, just more sort of defending and rolling with the whole thing for 15 minutes? It's got a good chance of being a real stinker.
I was going to say it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, like it's like the matchup isn't really great.
Yeah, I mean,
to stand and smash it out. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, there is often that theory of the grappling cancelling out the grappling either side when you get to high level guys like this in that space. I feel like Bryce Mitchell's a gamer. He's going to, want to do his craft. He's going to want to go to the ground. He's going to want to test himself against Kron. So I hope that happens. Otherwise, I see a boring fight.
Yeah.
I think if you're punting, you put some money on a bit of a sprinkle on Gracie. You hope it comes off. Otherwise, who cares? Yeah. Moving on. All right, we got the big boys up next. We got Cereal Fruit Loops Gane against Alexander Volkov. Lots of value on Volkov. $3.50 coming in here. He's been on a bit of a run. Yeah. He's been looking good. He's seen a bit of consistency there behind him, and not a lot of activity from Gane. He's done his movie off in his hiatus. He was in some film. So, yeah, what do you got for us?
Well, the biggest takeaway that I've heard from Cyril recently is that he's taking MMA seriously now, which is good to hear. That he's gotten to this point in his career and he hasn't been taking it seriously. I think on paper, Cyril's probably the line's probably fair at 130 for Cyril and 350 for Volkov. Just purely out of like a big, fast, athletic heavyweight, Cyril Gane is probably the better fighter of the two. But like you said, the run that Volkov's been on, it's like...
He's had a decision off Sergey, and that looked like a really calm, composed, technical Volkov, full of confidence, really, to go those 3 rounds and to essentially win every round, if I'm not mistaken. I remember Sergey looking real frustrated in that.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like seeing the last couple of fights and seeing the way that Volkov's been fighting. It's like, okay, well, that's the sort of way you need to fight to be able to beat Cyril Gane, in my opinion. Like, you're not going to go in there and just starch him, unless you're John Jones and you lean on him in the first 60 seconds. Like, I think it could be close. I mean, especially at heavyweight. Like, I mean, it's a pretty wide line for someone who's been doing pretty well. But I reckon Cyril's going to win. But if I was going to, like we said before, throw some money on it, I think Volkov's probably good value.
Yeah, I suppose one thing to bear in mind as well is Volkov, from my memory, hasn't really done a lot of takedowns. I think there was one fight I recall where he shot in round 5 just to control the fight. But other than that,
he gets underhooks
he's a striker.
and he leans
Yeah.
against the cage, man. That's what he does.
They're gonna stand and bang here, and it's the better striker is going to come out on top. Whether there's a finish or not, we'll see. I think if there is a finish, it's more likely to come from Cyril Gane. He's a heavy favorite here for a reason. This is going to be a stand-up fight, and Cyril Gane was touted as the guy that moves like a lightweight at heavyweight. And I think we're going to see that on display if he's really taking it seriously, if he's had enough time off between that loss from John Jones. I think we'll see a really good version of him in there, and I think he walks away with the win here.
Yeah, same.
Awesome. All right. Shavkat Rakhmonov against Ian Machado Garry. Very, very two different personalities either side of this fight, but both of them are undefeated, and somebody's O has to go.
Yeah, every time I look at the line, it gets further and further out. I think after that news that Shavkat submitted him in training, which was interesting discovery today.
Yeah.
Which, I can only imagine that's the reason that this is getting blown out again. I mean, there's two sides of it, right? Like, to me, what happens in the training room doesn't really mean shit. Like, I got the better of you in training. It's always whoever shows up on the day. Like, are you really that much better than him? Like, because you might have got one round above him in training. Like, he obviously knows something that we don't know. Like, because he's not taking this fight unless he thinks he can win. I think he can beat anybody at welterweight. I think he legit thinks that. I really hope he doesn't. I really hope he loses, so that, we can just get a little bit of sanity back in the world, because I honestly don't know what would happen if... Okay, so this goes two ways, right? Shavkat does this Shavkat thing and wins, which is great. This fight could be so fucking boring, dude. Like, if Ian wants to win this and AQ this out, who was the fight that he fought that was boring as shit? Was
Michael
it
Venom Page. Michael Venom
MVP
Page
as well. Like,
boring.
the MVP was shit. Like, the thing with Ian is he just knows how to win. He just knows how to figure out a win. And I just think if he really wants to get that win and move forward, and he's not looking to, make any new fans, I reckon Shavkat's the perfect guy to do that on, because he just wants that number. He just wants that name on his resume.
I agree with all of what you said, but at the end of the day, this is Shavkat Rakhmonov, and I just can't see him getting put in a spot where he's frustrated and doesn't have an answer. Like, I think we could see this going one round apiece, either side going into the third. Ian Garry might, sorry, but going into the third before we get to championship rounds. So,
yeah,
like, it's what I'm getting at here is I can see this getting to round 3, and one person taking over. One person's done enough downloading. One person's done enough damage, and then we go into round 4, and you pretty much know who's winning the fight outside of a crazy moment. I think Shavkat has the more dangerous finishing chance, both on the ground as well as on the feet. Like, Ian's, don't get me wrong, he's got great striking, but he is tentative at times to put himself in harm's way to get that. And when he does that, he gets dropped. Like, let's not forget, like, a few of those first early fights in the UFC, he got dropped by people that names I forget that, haven't really necessarily risen up in the rankings at welterweight. So, if he takes a shot from Shavkat's got that IQ and finishing game on the ground as well to actually go down to the ground and contest it there and put him away. This will come down to who breaks the other fighter in the second half of the fight. That's how I see this. If it goes to round 4 or 5, Shavkat, he's had more time to prepare for this fight. He was fighting Bilal, who's preparing for Bilal. So he's had a longer camp. He'll rise to the occasion. I won't rule out Ian. I think the odds are crazy at $4.10. It's actually gone up since I last looked at it this morning.
Just for an undefeated guy, like it's crazy to have odds like that for someone who's undefeated. Like it just goes to show
almost the popularity coming into play here. A lot of haters on Ian's side and a lot of love for Shavkat.
I think it just goes to show how good Shavkat is, man. Like if you've got an undefeated guy who's like rising the ranks, Ian Garry hasn't looked like he's lost any fight. Like he's won every fight convincingly, whether they're boring or not boring. Like he's won convincingly. To be a $4 against someone that's in the top 5, it's crazy that it's that wide. But it just goes to show how good Shavkat is, man. So I think because of that, It's like I just can't see. And the short notice thing as well, I guess that has to play into it. But yeah, I think Shavkat does what he wants, man. And I can't see Ian's style and the way that Ian wins fights. Ian wins fights when he puts people exactly where he wants them to be. He dictates the pace. He dictates the range. Shavkat has made a career out of not letting people implement their games. He just steamrolls through and fuck your game plan, basically. So
yeah.
I think that's also where that line comes in, where it's just like, okay, well, it's not a good style matchup for Garry either. So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's go Shavkat. I think the line is there for majority for a reason there. He's got that 100% finishing record intact. These guys have trained together. There's a bit of a history there, a bit of a story there. So I'm excited. I think it's a great fight. That's one thing I love about MMA when you compare it to other combat sports. They make these fights where there's an O either side. They're both undefeated fighters. It's not even for a title, not even for an interim title, thank God. And we get to see it. Like, this is a fight that we might have thought to see in the future when, no pun intended to Gary's fight name, but the future. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And we get to see all that as a co-main. Amazing. I'm loving more of these 5-round co-main events. No titles. Give it to me any day of the week. I love it. All right, we'll move on to the main event of the evening. We have Alexandra Pantoja against Kai Asakura. Man, I love this bloke. I didn't know diddly squat about him before they signed him to the UFC, and they have done an amazing job at promoting his story, promoting his background from Japan, from Ryzen as a champion, coming over to the UFC, getting this title shot instantly. A lot of people were a bit like, hey, whoa, what's going on here? We don't do that, but no one seems to care at this point. Everyone is pumped to see this guy fight Alexandra Pantoja. A bit of a dark horse coming out of Japan. I'm all about it.
Well, I thought there wasn't, like, it goes to show how good of a fight it is, because there hasn't been people being like, what the hell? Random guy coming in, like, what the hell? Like, I think it's great. Like, exactly what you said. The building of the promotion of it as well has been sick. I mean, it's so fucking easy. The dude's got the Dobas highlight reel. He's got like dozens of knockouts and stuff from Ryzen, which is sick. He's got a cool look. He's kind of got like that weird street beef Nick Diaz, like Diaz army badass Japanese dude about him as well, which is kind of cool. And let's be real, this isn't happening in any other division. Like, it's happening because it's flyweight. So flyweight is it. I think this is sort of the injection that it needed. So Kara France was probably, right there for a title shot. I don't even think he was too mad about it, man. Like, if this is the kind of thing that you want in your division, if it's already getting Pantoja's fight fought the top 3 guys, each of them like twice. Like, you got Moreno, Royval. It's like, how many rematches you got to be having here before something can start getting interesting. So I think it's exactly what it needed, and I'm actually super pumped for this. The countdown was great.
I agree with you. They did a great job in that countdown, bringing up obviously footage of Kai Asakura when he was doing a bit of street fights with his brother. Awesome story. He has a massive following on YouTube, I believe. Like, this is one of those fights as well where the UFC, I can guarantee, want this guy to win. It's so good for their market, to have that reach in Japan, to have that first Japanese UFC fighter. It is huge for them. And on that note about Kai France, I mean, he's in ANZ. He's in this region. Japan is nearby. Like, we have that card in Sydney in February. An awesome result for us could be Kai going in, getting a win. There's 2 Kais, bloody hell. Asakura getting in there quick, coming away unscathed, getting a finish, looking good. And they tap him on the shoulder and go, hey, we did you a favor. We gave you a title fight coming in. You do us a favor. You fly to Sydney, which, I'd say any Asian fighter is able to do a lot easier than people from America and all that. Nobody seems to want to come here all the time. So I can see them booking that. There's a chance there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what would that be? Just under 3 months? No, just over 2 months after this. So yeah, I guess it would be a quick turnaround, but depending on how it goes, he's a pretty big dog, man. 310. I think it's the unknown. It's got to be the unknown, man. Like, because he could come in and just shit the bed. Like Pantoja could just submit him in the first round or something, and it's like, oh well, we missed that one. But that's what this whole thing's about, It doesn't matter who's better or worse. It's like, how much can you sell that this is a fun, compelling matchup with a new guy? It doesn't matter if he gets, romped in 60 seconds. Like, their job is to promote this as an exciting, fun fight, and I think they've nailed it. So
They've nailed it.
I'm pumped for it, man. Good card. A lot of average card getting thrown around. Actually, I'm into it, man. Top to bottom.
I think it's an amazing card. I think when you like one criticism I have every now and then with some of the UFC pay-per-views is when it's way too stacked at the top and there's nothing in the middle, and it becomes a drag, and you just want to see the last 2 fights. There's none of that here. Prelims are stacked. Every single fight I'm wanting to watch. And where I was going earlier is, like, it's such a late start for us with AM being the first early fight pass prelim. Like, that's wild. We're going to be wrapping things up at around 4 or something.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's got depth. It's got a lot of depth pretty much through the whole thing.
Yeah. Look, I'm super pumped.
I don't mind a good chick. I don't mind a good chick fight. If it's got implications and stuff, but no female fights on the whole card. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Take that for what it is, but
well, that means we're going to be pissing our pants at the table. No bathroom breaks. I'm joking, ladies. I'm joking. I love it.
I'm joking.
Nah, look, UFC 310. That's our preview show. I can't fucking wait. Last pay-per-view of the year. Lots to talk about. We'll be back next week to break it all down with you. See you later.
Let's go. See you, bro.
Yeah.